Welcome back to Vox Terra, a political, environmental analysis as well as social analysis of the movie Don't Look Up, Leonardo DiCaprio's latest. Well, many take the movie as a metaphor for climate change, and I would firmly agree with that. We see the same pattern playing out with scientists giving the warnings being ignored, initially because of people simply not understanding. But then later it becomes apparent because of profit motive. Now in this case, instead of, and this is going to be a spoiler if you haven't seen it, instead of it being fossil fuels, the movie is focused on a major comet heading towards the Earth. The president in the movie of the United States has a lot of similarities to Donald Trump or perhaps Sarah Palin. Her spokesman's son has a lot of similarities to Donald Trump Jr., scruffy and all. The movie portrays many of those denying the existence of the comet or those dismissing its gravity as being from news outlets that would remind us of Fox or One America News or that type of so-called conservative news, which I say so-called because really I think that those news outlets are more of a front for the reckless elements of the business community. But on the other hand, the movie also portrays the other, what people might call liberal or mainstream news outlets as equally, while not in denial about the comet, dismissive in trying to make light of it, preferring to focus on more fluff type of issues. And that does seem to be the reality of our media environment. On the one hand, we have these, well, I call them false patriots wrapping themselves in the flag to defend the fossil fuel industry. And on the other hand, media outlets that are maybe not engaging in that, but are simply not focusing or talking about the issue. Now, in this case, instead of the fossil fuel industry standing to profit from the destruction of our planet, it is the tech industry, and one tech giant in particular, who is attempting to profit from the comet crashing into the Earth and hoping he can safely steer that comet to land safely in the ocean where he and he alone and the other business interests of the United States alone can profit from the rare minerals that will be found within that comet. That tech giant also makes allusions towards data gathering, another reality we are all dealing with. Now, I think the directors or authors must have chosen the tech industry as a metaphor, perhaps because they want to send a message towards those who view themselves as conservative, saying, hey, look, I know you think all this tech industry is against you, but in reality, the tech industry is also part of the problem. For example, I believe Oracle made many donations to Trump, as did many other tech giants. They're not all lined up behind the Democrats. And I've heard many on Facebook, as well as human rights, or many on the left, what I call the true left, criticize Facebook for using algorithms that promote disinformation and hateful politics. Now, as the comet could not in the end be stopped from hitting the Earth because people tried to profit from it rather than deflect it when they still had a chance. Oh yes, and speaking of deflecting a comet while we still have a chance, again here they are more likely actually referring to scaling back on fossil fuels while it still would have been convenient to without having to suffer dire consequences of climate change. But here is where the metaphor has a weakness of waking others up. I heard one activist say that climate change, unlike other environmental issues, has a special problem. It deals with the weather. Well, first, our memories are fallible. What were things like then? But second, weather lends itself to denial. That activist pointed out that when the Clean Water Act was passed in the late 70s, it was passed because the Cuyahoga River caught on fire, so contaminated and laden with, I believe it was toxic chemicals from the petrochemical industries. Well, unlike today, those opposing that Clean Water Act, like those opposing climate action and transitioning to renewable and away from fossil fuels, they couldn't say, it's natural cycles, don't you know? Rivers catch on fire from time to time. But when it comes to weather, they can make that argument up until doomsday and at least 10 days after. But in terms of the actual reality of deflecting a comet or deflecting an asteroid, the movie showed the chance that was missed of the United States preparing to send up rocketry that would be laden with nuclear explosives, done strategically so to deflect. However, let me point out that one, as far as I'm aware, there is no such setup existing. While there may be ideas on how it could be done, there is no preparation for this eventuality. And the problem with waiting till the last minute and then sending up nuclear rocketry is that if those nuclear missiles exploded within the atmosphere, I believe we'd have a serious problem of radioactive contamination on our hands. Now, in the end, this tech-savvy giant made plans with the president to escape Earth once they realized that their plan wasn't going to work, going into a sort of state of hibernation, looking for another suitable Earth-like planet. Now, since that topic was brought up, I want to simply point out that escape Earth as a tactic for space settlement is not a wise one. The better tactic is build out from Earth, using nearby materials like those available on the moon to begin developing space settlement and space stations. Waiting until the last minute is very unlikely to succeed. Now, most likely this was not the intent of the authors of the movie, as I see many people criticizing, quote, billionaires going to space, but I would like to point out that it is my early interest in space settlement that made me very aware of the realities of climate change. But basically, the entire thing, our lack of preparedness for an asteroid hitting or a comet, our lack of willingness to scale back on fossil fuels due to the profit motive and their ability to insinuate all media and politics, it's all tied together, in my imagination at least, into a general lack of focus on the long-term survival of our species. And lastly, my only criticism of the movie, since many young activist types will probably watch it, is that it had a number of drug illusions for the lead actress. And so here I would simply like to say for the activist youth, drugs are not a good idea. If anything, they are another way to cloud your thinking and make you a less effective activist. So I hope you found this critique of the Don't Look Up informative and interesting. And if so, please make sure you are subscribed, you've clicked that notification bell, and until next time, as always, peace be with you.